Hello friends of the blade, welcome back. Today we are going to focus on the use of the Bowie knife as a fighting knife. In the last clip we have considered aspects of using the knife, the large knife, in many purposes, for instance in outdoor and wilderness. This we will skip today and focus only on the aspect of using Bowie knife as a fighting knife. This is a very traditional concept going back to the days to Natchez, Mississippi in the 1830s, 40s, so it's nearly a 300-year tradition among gentlemen in dueling situations of fighting with the Bowie knife. And I recommend, don't mix it up, the term Bowie knife as a fighting knife, don't mix it up with modern fighting knife concepts like in the military, where for instance the military uses daggers like this Applegate fighting dagger. The concept behind this knife is more a commando approach, where small groups of soldiers engage into combat situations and use this like a commando weapon. This is not the idea of carrying a big Bowie for being prepared for fighting situations. This is more a dueling piece. And in order to understand this concept, it is useful to have a closer look at the historical person of James Bowie and the time that he lived in. James Bowie, here's a picture in a very good German book, Bowie Messer, from the author Matthias Rechtenwald. And I'll show you the picture. This is how James Bowie probably looked like. James Bowie was born in 1796 in the area of Tennessee, Georgia, Kentucky. That's not so clear as far as I know. And he got only 40 years old, so he died in 1836 in the Alamo fight against Mexico. And he got involved into quarrels and fighting situations very often, rather often. Famous is the sandbar duel in Natchez, Mississippi in September 1827. And it was said that some months before, James Bowie had the idea of carrying a knife with him all the time. If you consider this time when the upcoming handguns, fire weapons, were not so reliable, so the revolvers of this time often jammed, and that's why the gentlemen of this age liked to carry around a big knife with them to be on the safe side in case that their handgun fire weapon failed. So they still had this to rely on. This we have to keep in mind. What's also quite interesting is James Bowie's ancestors came from Scotland, from his father's side of ancestors. So probably James Bowie's fathers had taught him some skills that come from Scottish saber fencing, sword fencing, saber fencing. And that's why he integrated movements with this long knife moves and techniques from saber fencing into his typical style of Bowie knife fighting. We will have a closer look this now, and we will concentrate on two very important persons. The one is Bill Bagwell and the other is the great James Keeling, Master at Arms James Keeling. So, enjoy! So fellows, when talking about Bowie knives as fighting knives, as Bowie fighters, then we should name two persons. One of them is Bill Bagwell and the other is James A. Keating. Now first some words on Bill Bagwell. We have here the book from Bill Bagwell, Bowie's Big Knives and the Best of Battle Blades. Very recommendable book. Most of you will probably know that Bill is a knifesmith, a blacksmith in the Hells Bell Bowie for over 30 years now. And in this book we have some nice picture of Bill where he's presenting one of his Bowies. Hope you can see it. That's Bill Bagwell. And I also have another nice picture. Here. This picture is taken in New Orleans. Here we see Bill, and the guy in the middle is James Keating. So besides Bill's work in forging awesome blades, Bill also used to write columns for the Soldiers of Fortune magazine, and this book that came out in 2000, in the year 2000, shows some of his articles for the Soldiers of Fortune magazine. I will give you a short look on the content. Very recommendable book, this one. So Bill is the creator of the fighting Bowie called the Hellspell. An original Hellspell in Damascus steel from Bill costs quite a small fortune, and it's worth every penny as far as I know, about 3,000 US. Now we have here the Ontario version of the Bill Bagwell Bowie, which is not so expensive. This is out of production, but you can still, if you are lucky, get some on aftermarket on eBay. What first strikes your mind is the beautiful leather sheath. For attaching to the belt it has this frog here, and we can see in the design of this awesome Bowie that it's meant to be a fighting Bowie. We see this because the blade is not wide but small narrow blade, but long blade, about 11.5 inch long, and it has a sharpened back edge here and this clip point, but not such a wide blade, but a small, and it reminds a little bit as a saber, in fact, when you have it in hand. The gripping quality of this coffin style grip is really good. You wouldn't expect it just by watching it, but if you have it in hand it feels so comfortable. In fact, it's one of the best grips of a knife that I ever had. Also because of these nails here, you can really grip it safe and move it fast, really fast. So what also makes this Bowie a fighting Bowie is the Spanish notch, and here this distinctive blade catcher guard. It's not a flat guard like this, a straight guard, but it's meant to be a blade catcher, and this works in this way. Imagine that you have the opponent's blades here, the wood symbols the opponent's blades. You engage, and here you have a binding, and with a turn of your wrist you can snatch from the opponent and you have his blade. This blade catching idea, this concept of blade catching, is nothing new. Also in late medieval times or 16th century, like shown in the Cold Steel catalog here, people used to have small swords in right hand, and in their left hand a left hand dagger, like this one or this one, and you can recognize the blade catching function. I'll show it a little bit closer. See how this dagger of the 16th century is designed with blade catchers. And this concept you find here again in the Fighting Bowie with the blade catchers. So, a very cool piece of steel. I mean, only point that we should name is that in his book Bill points out the advantage of Damascus steel or high carbon steel. And as far as I know, this is not a high carbon steel, but is 440 steel. So that's a tribute. It's rust resistant, but as far as the geometry and the weight and the feeling in hand is concerned, this gives you a good impression of the Bagwell Hellsbell. Well, the grip material, it's not real wood like in the original Bagwells, but is some kind of folkswood. But nonetheless, very, very nice blade, and I like it. It's a fast blade. Cool blade, Hellsbell from Bill Bagwell. And buddies, by the way, the idea of having a blade catcher on your Bowie also has been picked up by German knife makers. Here is a Bowie knife from Solingen. The blade is not as long as, for instance, Bagwell Hellsbell, but you can see how this guard is formed. It's a rather wide guard, so a hint that this knife is intended to be used in knife fights. The wide guard, and it has these two small notches to the upper side. Also, in my opinion, a function that if the opponent's blades come, it prevents a little bit from sliding down too fast. It's not snatched in the way here like with a rounded Bagwell guard, but it's at least a little bit slowed down and blocked. This side and also on this side. Beautiful German Bowie knife from Schlieper. 20 centimeter blade. So buddies, speaking of the Fighting Bowie knife, we now come to a man that many of you probably will know already. This is Mr. James Albert Keating. Well, what to say about Mr. James A. Keating? Just to put it in one short sentence, this guy truly is a legend, a living legend. I admire James a lot because he's such a gifted martial arts person and already a very gifted teacher. His skills in teaching, his concepts about fighting, knife fighting, not only knife fighting but fighting in general, is amazing. I really encourage you to visit his YouTube clips and also to have a look at his website. So he is really martial arts expert with the weapons. That's because he is master at arms, James A. Keating, but also with the empty hand. And in my opinion, Mr. Keating is on one level with the great Bruce Lee in the sense of inspiring people and encouraging people to think for themselves, to think about the movements they make and they are being taught, and to ask themselves, oh, why do I have to do this certain movement? What's the concept behind this? So he encourages people to think innovative and to be creative. So, in one word, James Albert Keating is a true legend. Well, James Keating has put up the idea of Bill Bagwell's Hellspell Bowie and has improved this concept a lot. You see, just like the Bagwell Hellspell Bowie with the blade catcher, also this knife that was designed by James Keating has here these blade catchers, but they are incorporated to the blade. It's made of one solid piece of metal, and this brings additional strength a lot. And these horns are also called devil's horns, the blade catching horns. So they're very strong. It's a full tang design of I guess 6 mm thickness, Mercata grips. So this knife is called the Crosada. Here we have the signature of James Keating, and it's made by Bob Dozier in Arkansas. So what's important, and we will see in a minute why this knife has a name Crosada, because it not only has this band guard, this upper band guard, the devil's horns, but you also recognize this hole in the middle of the blade. What's this purpose? Here you can screw in these quillions. Very easy. You get the Crosada with the quillions. Just putting one in, the other end screwing, tightening it with your hand. And so you see, if you face the knife from the tip view, you will see this plus this cross, and that's the reason why the knife is named the Crosada. And what's the purpose of these additional quillions? Well, the function of the devil's horns, upper and lower blade catchers, are just like described in the Hellspell Bagwell. If the opponent's knife, if the blade comes in and you have the Crosada and catch it, and with a turn of your wrist you have it here. And that's also because it is designed in the way that we have this corner here, this inner corner of the horn, tighten it. Tightening the opponent's blade, you can pull the opponent's blade out of his hand or turn your wrist, and then you have it. Same here with the upper horn. And now the quillions. If the opponent's blade comes parallel to your own blade, then the quillions prevent the opponent's blade from hurting your own hand. Yeah? Because otherwise they would go through and hit your thumb or your hand. That's the idea behind the quillions. So really a big improvement compared to the Bagwell. The knife is also more solid. Very impressive knife. And James Keating has developed a whole series of knife videos of where you can improve your skills. This here is number 2 of the American Bladecraft. This is volume 2, dealing about Bowie basics, and there are about 7 issues, all with large knives, Bowie knives, and I really recommend that you get your hands on James DVDs. Highly recommendable stuff. Okay, so far fellows, I hope you enjoyed the thoughts on the knives. One last point: if you want to practice with the Crosada but don't want to use your sharpened version of the Crosada, like this one made by Bob Dozier, then you can also use the training knives made of aluminum. like this one. I mean, of course, since this one is made of solid steel, it's lighter, and here for additional weight I have just added some screws from the construction market. Works fine and gives a little bit of training to your wrist because it's a little more heavy. So, training crossada, real live blade crossada, Bagwell Hellspell, pretty examples of the fighting Bowie. I hope you enjoyed this clip and have a good time. See you next time.